There's a bit, you know, that the body was there. Okay then. So basically,
So it would appear that for some reason Allah didn't want you to do it in that room.
it's called yeah, in a sense you could say that actually, yeah.
Maybe it's just more comfortable in the room you're in now, and Allah just wanted you to be comfortable.
And maybe he wanted you to be comfortable as well, yeah, because obviously, you know, the access is a bit more easier this way, and obviously upstairs you probably, a lot of things will be crackling as well. Okay, so obviously you're an atheist or agnostic, you don't believe in a God, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Why is that? Why is it the reason that you've denied God? If you start on that premise...
No, I don't deny God. It would be wrong. Is someone singing there?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, sorry about
that. To say that I deny God would mean that I'd been presented with evidence for God and chose to decide that it's not true or something along those lines. That wouldn't be accurate at all. You know, there's a lot of things that I don't accept the existence of, but I don't deny them. I just accept that no one's ever shown me that they exist. That's all.
But what sort of facts, so to say, would you need for you to accept the existence of God?
Well, I think that there's two things that spring to mind about God. There's the God, the all-powerful, all-knowing thing that can do anything, and then there's the role of creator of the universe. Now, I don't necessarily see the two things as the same. So what would convince me of a creator of the universe, an intelligent creator of the universe, for example, would be if physicists were smashing particles at the Large Hadron Collider, and as they smash something apart, it always spread into the words, "I'm God and I created the universe on purpose." Then to me that would be proof that something intelligent created the universe, because it would be information that could only be put in to the fabric existence at the point that it was created. So that would convince me that something intelligent had created the universe, but then that wouldn't automatically mean that I knew things about it. For example, it wouldn't automatically mean that I knew it was all powerful. I know that it can create universes, but you know, it doesn't mean necessarily it can do anything. It doesn't necessarily mean that it knows everything. It doesn't even necessarily mean that it's still alive. You know, I'd have to make lots of assumptions. What's that? Someone playing? Is it?
Yeah, Pete, I think there's a bit of interference here, sort of going on, so sorry about that.
Well, you got a karaoke going on, have you?
It's quite funny actually. But anyway, I won't actually speak on that. I'll speak about what we are going to speak about. But okay. We'll probably get you in the mood, that's what it was. You know what I mean, Pete? Okay. Pete, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear me? Right? Okay. So just because if something exists, is this your standpoint? Is this your premise then? If something exists, right, it still doesn't necessarily mean that it is all powerful, all knowing. Is that what you're standing on?
No, that's not the reason that I don't accept God. I don't accept God because no one's ever proved to me that there's a God. Basically, no one's ever said here's proof of a God. Because you know, if I'm gonna make assumptions, I can either assume there's no God, I can assume there's two gods, 10 gods, one God. I can assume he's all powerful, half powerful, knows everything, knows half of everything. You know, I can assume whatever I want. So I don't even assume there's no God.
I don't know whether the microphone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Pete? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that we should start. I think the first thing that we should establish here.
Yeah.
Is the existence of the Creator looking around us, what we can see, whether we know for sure if there is a Creator, and then once we establish that there is a Creator, then we can move on to which Creator is true, which Creator is false. Like you said, for example, that you can also say that there's two Creators. There's one good Creator, there's one bad Creator, there's one that's half powerful, the other one is half powerful, etc. Okay. So let me ask you a question here. Logically speaking, if I was to say, if I was an astronaut and I was to go into space and I was to see the Earth, right? To see for exactly how it's formed, to see that it can give life to creation as well. That creation can actually also produce for the existence of life to actually carry on. Wouldn't that necessitate firstly that something actually created this to be so perfect?
Well, what makes you think that it's perfect?
Okay, perfect in the sense that it's actually formed in a way for living beings to exist upon.
Right, okay. So, if the presence of a planet that's able to support life supports the notion that God exists, would a planet that doesn't support life support the notion that God does not exist?
No, I'm not asking that question. What I'm saying is, because I haven't been to other planets.
Yeah.
You've been to other planets, I don't know about that. But I haven't been there. I'm on about the Earth.
Yeah.
So if we just stick onto the Earth, if there's a planet that exists, right, Earth, and we know, for example, that it gives existence to life, wouldn't it be more logical to say that it was created to give life? Then it was uncreated, or for example, it was, I can say, it was created and then it doesn't contain life. That would be more easier. It's like me saying, if we had a scrapyard, right, and I threw an infinite amount of bombs into a scrapyard, right, a car would come at the end of it. But me throwing so many bombs into it, that wouldn't make sense, because the chances of that happening are, I think, a billion to one, or probably even more than that. So for the chances for the Earth to come into existence and then also have life upon it, is like the same concept of me throwing a bombs into a scrapyard and a car coming out.
Well, it's not actually anything like that at all. The idea that life is anything like throwing bombs in scrapyards is, you know, probably the least accurate analogy that you could use. Complex life. The origin of complex life is nothing like one big explosion, a single event, and hoping to see a result of organised life from one single random event. You know, that's not the way things have come about.
Yeah.
Is he on a microphone or something, this guy?
Yeah, I think because I've got two microphones.
No, the guy that's singing. Is he on a microphone?
He's on a microphone, yeah.
Is he? What is he? Is he singing to an audience?
Kind of, yeah. And I'm aware that in the office, because there's a bit of confusion of, you know, for example, like where we can actually use for this thing to happen. Because there's quite a few people that wanted to think. It's better now, because there's no noise, isn't there?
Yeah. But you know, is he resting or is he dead? That's the question.
I don't know. I've been out there, man. Allah knows.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'm not a malicious person, so I'll just hope that he's feeling sick. I won't go for dead. I'll just go for unwell.
Okay, no problem here. Okay, so
yeah, but back to the Earth. Don't just look at the Earth. Look at the universe, right? The whole universe, because if you look at just the Earth, take into account there's hundreds of billions of galaxies in the universe. in each galaxy there's hundreds of billions of stars, and who knows how many planets, right? We don't know how many of these support life, right? We don't know how many don't. But what we do know is that there are so many places just in our solar system that if you went there, you would be instantly dead, right? So if you're looking at only the Earth out of the entire universe, you're being very, very selective with your analysis, yeah? So what you're doing is you're looking at one case and saying, oh, isn't this brilliant? But you're not looking at the fact that if you look at the entire universe, there may be other cases of life, but there may be millions or billions of more cases of no life.
Yeah. No, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to look at it is, for example, if the Earth itself existed, yeah, and you made a statement, you just said that, well, other planets, they can't actually, if we were to go there,
yeah,
we would die.
Yeah.
Why would that be the case?
Because we're not adapted to live in those conditions.
Or there isn't sufficient, like for example, sufficient amounts of oxygen or stuff that we would need as human beings to survive on that planet.
Yeah, that's because we breathe oxygen. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And over there, there's a short supply that what we would need to actually survive there. So what I'm trying to say is that the Earth itself has everything, has the oxygen.
Well, do you know that there's actually life on Earth that doesn't breathe oxygen?
Like what?
There's a very small life form that lives in brine seas at the bottom of the ocean, in brine lakes of brine. Brine is a liquid that's more dense than water, which sinks to the bottom of the sea, right? And it forms pools at the bottom of the sea, right? And there are small life forms that live in those that have their mitochondria, rather than consuming oxygen, consume hydrogen, because there is no oxygen in the brine pools. So has the Earth been made perfect for them? It obviously hasn't, because we've got a massive amount of oxygen. Most of the places for them, I mean, humans can't live under the water, so that's most of the underwater is off limits to us. All the animals in the water can't live in the air, so that's off limits for them. And then of course there's, in the past, the atmosphere of the Earth was much different to how it was now. It was only when certain bacterial life forms existed that started to create oxygen, and they actually, you know, if you look at what most things breathed back then, what they were actually doing was polluting the atmosphere and filling it with poison. Oxygen was a poison to most of the things alive at the time, and it killed a lot of things. But luckily for us, it made more complex life possible, because oxygen is the kind of thing that we need.
Yeah, but see, your example or your analogy that you've used, in a way shows the existence of other creatures, because what you said is bacteria, right? Bacteria suddenly started causing all this extra sort of oxygen. Firstly, where did the bacteria come from? That's what you need to look at. Where did it come from, and why? How would it? You know, it's such a chance that, you know, bacteria would start to develop for us to need that extra oxygen.
Well, if you look at it another way, right? If you were to create a planet for humans to live on with lots of oxygen, would you first create it so that it wasn't full of lots of oxygen, wait millions or billions of years, then create some bacteria that create oxygen, then wait some more billion years and then put humans on it? Or would you create it? Remember, you're all powerful, yeah? So, you know, why would you do it that way?
Yeah, you know, in regards to the oxygen, or what you're saying, when it happened, when are you talking about that this bacteria started to create extra oxygen that we needed? Because you know, I just want to know, like, where does this come from? Is there any evidence for it, for what you're actually saying?
There is evidence for it.
Yeah.
I'd have to get it to you in writing, because it's not one of the. It's no, what I tend to concentrate on is the simple bacteria life before the Cambrian explosion generally doesn't interest me very much. Yeah, and the Cambrian explosion would have been post the oxygen-rich atmosphere. So it's generally not something that I look at very much, right? But I think though that rather than, I think people have been arguing about the existence of a God for many years. People have been arguing about the existence of a God for many years, and because when you argue about a God or any God, any God. When people argue about any God, you tend to get nowhere because there's no concrete definition of what this any God is. And frankly, any God could have created the earth, and any God could have created life. What the relevant subject, I think, really is your God. I think that's the relevant situation. Because for me, if someone said, some God created the earth, and proved to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that some God did, I'd say, well, to me that's the same as no God, because I still don't know anything about it, and I don't know if it wants anything, and so on. So, you know, it would effectively be the same to me. So the only kind of God that's of interest to me is a God in which we have knowledge, a God that we have knowledge about. So I think which is really where, you know, your belief comes in, because you believe not only that there is a God that created everything, but you know things about that God, and that you believe that you have the evidence to show that your beliefs are correct.
I think what we need to that's a good question actually. I think what we need to look at firstly is before we look at scripture, is to also look at external evidences as well. Like for example, as I said, in regards to the earth, you know, let me just ask you a simple question, Pete. Where do you think the earth came from? Like, how do you think it formed?
I think that a star exploded, releasing heavier elements into the universe. Gravity pulled them together, formed a new star, and formed various planets.
Okay, that's the same like my, you know, what you just said is the same my analogy that I was given regarding the car park. Like, you know, to me, what you just said is like me showing someone a pen and say, well, actually, you know, like the ink in it, you know, it formed with a plastic, or the plastic got melted by fire, and then it formed this.
Yeah, but if the thing is though, is if you walked out on the street and on a daily basis saw fire melting into pens on the floor, you would accept it as an everyday normal occurrence, wouldn't you?
But do you see stars exploding and
yes.
giving rise to planets? You see that on the regular basis? What
you see is, you do see stars exploding on a regular basis. What you can also see as you look into the universe is the dust from these exploded stars pulling together, forming new stars. Yeah, and anything that doesn't form above a certain mass won't become a star, because it's not heavy enough to form nuclear fusion. So it would just form planets. It's exactly the same process. We see the process occurring every day in astrology. Astronomy, not astrology. Astrology is rubbish. In astronomy.
That's what I was just going to correct you, actually. But we've got to see, like, what planets do you know that have been exploded by a star then?
What have been formed by, well,
a star.
Well, why would I have any reason to assume that they don't happen exactly the same way as we observe everything else forming?
No, but the thing is, you gave an example, and you said, I asked you, where do you think the Earth came from? And you said, a star exploded, and gravity started putting everything together, and that's where we got the Earth from. And then I said, that's the same analogy that I gave regards to this pen, and you said that we don't see the pen happening on a regular basis, but we do see the analogy you gave. So then, you need to give evidence of another planet that was formed by your analogy or your concept that you gave.
Right. And my evidence was that what we see is that gravity pulls mass together. Yeah. Do you agree with that evidence so far? we observe that the pulling together of this mass forms new stars. Are you happy with that as well? We also know that it takes a certain amount of gravity, a certain amount of mass to pull molecules together tight enough to start nuclear fusion, which is what a sun is. So we therefore know that anything that doesn't acquire enough mass to start nuclear fusion is simply another body. Another body is effectively a planet. We only call it a planet because it orbits a star. If that were to get extra mass, it would become a star. If it would gain insufficient mass, then it would be a planet.
Yeah. No. I think.
But you know, they're all based on. It's all based on evidence that we see around us. However,
I've never seen evidence for it, and you haven't provided any evidence for it. What you've said is that you know that gravity pulls. You know, I'm agreeing with you. Astronomy agrees with you on this end, but astronomers don't tell you that these stars burst and then create planets.
They do.
Okay, give me evidence for one.
Well, what do you want me to do? Find you URLs that...
Tell me a planet that's been formed by a bursting star.
Earth.
That's your evidence for it. You said that Earth.
Mars, Jupiter, Venus, various planets around all stars.
Could you name, and the scientist then that has? Could you name me like like your analogy for it, your concept of the concept of the Earth coming into formulation by the bursting star? It's backed up by science, and if so, can you tell me which people, which notable scientists have actually agreed with, or basically told you this is that? I'd like to take their names, please, and I just find out a bit more about it, because I don't know.
Give me a second. I know his name. I just can't remember his first name. Lawrence Krauss. Laurence. Last name Kraus. Lawrence Krauss. I mean, that's just the first name that comes off my head. But you discuss with any cosmologist. I mean, you've agreed that mass gets pulled together, and we've observed it forming stars. Yeah. So why would you assume that mass can't pull together and form planets?
Because that hasn't been said yet. Nobody said it yet. It's Lawrence Krauss or Krauss that you're referring to. Sorry, Lawrence Krauss that you're referring to. Who is he, by the way?
He's a particle physicist.
In where?
In America somewhere. I think he's also a cosmologist. Stephen Hawking, that's another name you'd have heard of. He says that planets were formed by gravitational pull. And you know,
is this unanimous though? Is this like a unanimous sort of thing, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, if you find you find any cosmologist that says I don't think that happened, and I'll tell you, I can't explain how surprised I would be.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, but anyway,
if things happen.
Yeah, but anyway, as I was saying, for the point of argument, I'm happy. For the point of argument, I'm happy to say, as a starting point, just to get rid of this initial point, as a starting point, I'm happy to say, let's assume that there's a God. Let's assume it's an intelligent God that created the universe deliberately. Let's assume it created the universe for the purpose of life, and let's assume that it created life on Earth. Yeah? Because I think only then can we get to the point where you will say, and this is why I believe that this intelligent God does intervene in our lives, does care about us individually, and this is what it wants.
No, of course.
So, I'm happy to talk about that other stuff, but I think that I'm not going to convince you there's no God, and you're not going to convince me that there is a God by arguing about gravity and planets. However, if you were to show me proof that your holy book can only have come from some superhuman origin, then I would think, well, that is for me proof enough. I think, I'll rule out aliens and stuff. I'd rather believe it came from some intelligent God than ET. So I'd be more inclined to go down that line. But however, what would it then take for you, for me to show you that your religion is not from this God?
Good question. The Quran answers it actually. It says to disprove the Quran. You need to disprove that it's from God. So, for example, what the Prophet peace upon him, what was given to him at that time, that or the prophecies that he made, they haven't come true. You need to disprove the Quran in that sense.
All of the prophecies of the Quran have...
Yeah, the miracles of the Quran with regards to be honest, I'm not one that knows too much about regards to like the scientific miracles of the Quran. I could have had some stuff prepared, but I didn't really know too much of it. Like, you know.
Do any of the guys there with you, have any of they looked into it?
Yeah, we have one. Yeah.
But if you, for example, because you're not familiar with these miracle claims, that's not what you base your belief on, is it? So if, for example, you showed me your best miracle claim and I explained to you why it's not a miracle, that wouldn't prove to you that your religion was wrong, because your decision to follow this religion isn't based on those miracles. So what is it that I would need to show you that would convince you that the Quran is nothing to do with the God we've agreed has created the universe?
Contradiction. A contradiction in the Quran.
Or a single scientific error.
Yeah, a single one would do. Yeah.
Single one. Now,
or a contradiction in the Quran.
Now, if I showed you a scientific error in the Quran,
yeah,
what I think would happen is you would say, so if, for example, I showed you a scientific error regarding fire, I think what you would say is it's some kind of magic fire. It's a special kind of fire.
Yeah. To be honest, you need to understand that when you know the Quran, when it speaks about certain things, it can actually mean a different fire also.
So, but then if it says fire, but it doesn't mean fire, does that mean that the Quran is then incorrect?
We need to read it in context as well, yeah.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what then. I'll present you with that first, or would you like to present me with something first?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
You go ahead.
So first of all, is it true that you believe that the Quran is perfect?
Yes.
Can the Quran be improved in any way? Even just by adding a single word or taking a single word out? Right? And the Quran is 100% accurate?
110% accurate.
Right. So, I'll look up the verse number if you want me to, but I expect you already know it. And the verse says that jinn are made of smokeless fire.
Yes.
Yeah. So do I need to look up the verse, or you just know that it says that? Yeah. And hadiths say that angels are made out of light. Do you believe that as well? Yeah. So, in hearing that jinn are made of smokeless fire and angels are made out of light, do you think we can agree that they're made out of different things?
Yeah.
Right? Now, did you do chemistry?
In school, yeah. GCSE.
Did you learn about oxidization? Do you remember?
Right. In my school.
Now, do you remember the experiment where the chemistry teacher filled a test tube with hydrogen, stuck a thing in, and it went boop, really loud, and it resulted in water, right? What you experienced there was smokeless fire, right? It was fire that didn't produce smoke, it produced water. And the reason it did it was the test tube was filled with hydrogen, and the hydrogen, once you open the test tube, can mix with the air, which has got oxygen in it, yeah. And water is formed, as you know, by 2 hydrogen attached to 1 oxygen, yeah. But they don't just instantly combine together, right? You need to smack them together hard enough to fuse, yeah, to form a chemical bond. And to do that, what he does is he introduces the fire, or the heat source would do it, to give them enough energy to bang against each other, form water, and that releases more energy, which goes off, smacks more into each other, and it causes a chain reaction. Yeah. So the oxygen is attaching to these hydrogen molecules, atoms, to form water molecules, and in the process give off more energy, which causes a chain reaction. But some of that energy, which is released as photons, you will see as light, or you'll feel against your skin as heat, and so on. Right? And essentially that's what fire is. Fire is a chemical process in which oxygen is attaching to other atoms to form more complex molecules. So the reason that saying that gin are made of smokeless fire is a scientific error is because fire is not a quantitative substance. It has no mass, it has nothing like that. It doesn't even logically exist. It's a process. Yeah? Okay. So saying that gin are made of smokeless fire is a little bit like saying cakes are made of walking to the shop.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. You know the jinn?
Yeah.
What world do they live in according to the Quran?
Well,
our world?
Well, carry on, and then, mate, I'll see where you're.
Because your analogy is based upon this, this world. That with regard to your concept of, the smokeless fire, etc. Yeah. Your analogy is only based upon this world.
Yeah.
But according to Quran, don't live in this world.
Yeah. So, which is what I suspected you would say.
No, so, I said that's what Quran says.
No, that's fine. No, that's what I suspected you would answer.
Yeah.
So, in that case, are you saying that fire in this other world, smokeless fire, is not the fire that we know?
That's correct, yeah.
So it's not smokeless fire, it's something like smokeless fire?
No, not really, because, for example, we can, how can I explain this to you? When the Quran says that the jinn are made from smokeless fire, right?
Yeah.
The smokeless fire that you're talking about, and again, it's just based upon the concept of how smokeless fire exists in this world.
Yeah.
So if it's just upon words, that doesn't really disprove anything, because you're saying that smokeless fire can't exist.
Well, what I'm saying is that it's not. There's no atoms. There's no atoms. What you're actually when you put a flame into that test tube and produce water, the fire is actually the process of oxygen atoms binding with hydrogen atoms. What you've got left is water that was made using the process of fire, but the fire is a process. Do you see what I mean? It's not a thing, it's not a substance, it's a process.
Yeah. Okay. Let me
just So to be made of fire, right? There would need to be made of something. There would need to be some form of atoms involved, and fire isn't atoms. Fire is just an effect. Fire is just an effect. So if this thing in this other world, right? Even in another world, it's a logical process. It's not a physical thing. It's a logical process. Yeah. So no matter where it is, wherever it is, it's still a logical process. And if it's anything more than a logical process, it isn't smokeless fire. It's only something like smokeless fire. Because if it's different in a different world, then it's not smokeless fire, it's something else. If it's different, it's not the same, effectively.
Okay. You know what you just said? Unfortunately, yeah. You know the singer.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
So I can't hear what you were saying. So just give us a second. Yeah. Just going to tell the guy to. Give us a second, Pete, yeah?
Yeah, that's fine.
Pete?
Yeah.
Okay, just give us a second, yeah? Just no time to turn that. Okay. Sound so high. I think you're right.
You're right. Yeah, they're good. They're good. So who's the Quran miracle expert then?
You know, to be honest, I think that would. I think the miracle expert would have to be Zakir Naik, yeah. I think he's the one. Yeah?
You know Zakir Naik. You know he lies, don't you? You know he's lying to you.
Is he lying?
Do you know that he's lying to you?
Would you like to debate him?
Oh, well, I'd love to debate him. But you know what?
Yeah.
Shall I tell you why I think it would be pointless?
Why?
Because I would say something that was true, then he would just say lots of things, quote loads of verses that no one would have time to look up, say Alhamdulillah at the end, and then everyone would clap.
Okay. But you know what it is, Pete? I think, to be honest, I think you do know your stuff. I think you do know your stuff quite well. But we've got to like science and stuff, yeah. To be honest, that's not really. Huh? No, of course, that's not really my field. My field is more regards to like Christianity and the Bible, how it came, exactly, etc.
Well, I'll tell you what then. I'll tell you what. I'm obviously not going to make. I'm not going to expect you to renounce your religion on the spot. But what you can do, right, is essentially. Well, that's fine. You know, you can believe what you like. I don't mind. I'll go easy on you then. But what?
Yeah, let's go evolution, yeah.
But just effectively what the argument is on the smokeless fire. In short, fire is a process. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
In short, fire is a process, yeah? So you don't make things of fire, you can only make things with fire, yeah? If in another world it is a substance, then it's not the smokeless fire that we know. So it's not smokeless fire, it's only like smokeless fire. In which case, the Quran can only be accurate if it says that jinn are made of something like smokeless fire, which would mean that by putting the word like in there, we would improve the Quran.
Okay. That's according to your understanding, yeah.
Well, that'll be the scientific understanding.
No,
Not mine. It's been fairly well established, the process of fire, for quite a few hundred years now.
Let me ask you a question, yeah. Robert made a good point here.
Yeah.
You know smokeless fire?
Mhm.
When did we know as humans that smokeless fire existed then?
I don't know. I'd guess that it was probably the hydrogen and oxygen experiment. Let me see. My history's not very good, but I'd have guessed about the 1600s. But you know, I mean, you're not going to impress me with. Yeah, I know what you're going to ask, but you're not going to impress me with how did Muhammad know smokeless fire existed? Because in Muhammad saying smokeless fire, to me, the word smokeless could just be replaced with the word magic. You know, he's not telling me something.
That five main elements, yeah.
5 main elements are found in clay. Now he's saying we're made from clay, but he's not saying we necessarily made from actual clay.
Yeah. Did you know that, Pete?
What's that?
Yeah, put your hands to your brother, yeah?
I'm not sure if it's 5 elements. I don't know how many elements it is, but our bodies consist of, I think it's maybe 5 main elements. Do you agree on that?
I don't recall how many substances there are.
I'm not. Like actual elements. I think there's about maybe 5 or maybe a couple more, a few less. But those main elements are actually found in clay. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Quran, it also says that we were made from clay, but we're not saying we're made from just actual clay, because we're not, are we? What the Quran is based, if you look further, those elements that our body actually made of is actually makes up part of the clay, but a different formation sort of thing, as it were. You know what I mean? So if the Quran is telling us that we're made from clay and these elements are in clay, the Quran is telling us that the genes are made from smokeless fire. It might not say necessarily actual smokeless fire. Maybe the chemicals that make the smokeless fire, that's what the genes are made of.
But that's the point. That's the point. You see, is fire isn't made of chemicals. That's the point. Fire isn't made of atoms. Fire isn't made of atoms. Fire isn't made of chemicals. Fire isn't made of anything. Fire is photons. Fire is photons that are released as part of a process, a chain reaction.
You know what? we've got 2 people for you to have a look at. Have a look at these, yeah? You see him?
Oh yeah, you're right.
And you see him?
Yeah.
They come on board at the moment, yeah? The white Muslims.
Oh right. Does that make them better quality or worse quality?
No. We're not saying that they're better quality, yeah? Let's make it
Oh, I see. You're just making an irrelevant observation. Is that right?
You know what Tasneem, he was going to make that observation, that's what it was, yeah?
Well, I didn't realise Tasneem was a racist when I met him.
Oh, no, Tasneem is not a racist. Okay. Let's go on to something that you spoke with Tasneem about, yeah?
Yeah.
With regards to the Muhammad, peace be upon him, yeah? So where do you think you got this information from?
Which information?
What's in the Quran? Where did it come from?
Where did War and Peace come from?
Sorry?
Where did the book War and Peace come from? Where did Mozart music come from?
So do you think there was
some human mind?
Yeah. So do you think the human mind wrote the Quran, yeah? Like they gave the human mind, yeah? Okay. And what makes you believe that?
Because every book that I've ever seen, as far as I know, is authored by humans, and I've never been presented with anything to make me reach any other conclusion about the Quran.
Okay. So like for example, I know about the embryo. The Quran speaks about the embryo, yeah? In stages, yeah? How would the Prophet Muhammad know about the stages?
There's no information in the Quran that wasn't considered by other people previous to him.
Like who?
Aristotle, Galen.
Yeah, they never gave the same things that were in the Quran. They missed a few points. For example, both of them did, Aristotle and Galen. And the scientist, what was his name? The one that came.
Keith Moore.
Keith Moore, yeah. He's the top scientist on embryology. Would you agree with that?
Well, I wouldn't agree with it. I've heard of him, but I have also spoke to him in an email.
You spoke to him in an email, yeah, regarding the embryo.
Yeah, would you like to know what he said?
Please, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah.
He said, I've spoke to him and I've spoke to his publisher, and he said that he did not become a Muslim, and he was commenting on the accuracy of the statements in the Quran, and that he stands by what he said. But his official statement via his publisher is that his statements were taken out of context.
Whose statement was taken out of context?
Keith Moore.
So when you said it live on stage,
Yeah.
I don't understand what you mean with it. Taken out of context, I don't.
Well, all I'm telling you is what his official statement is now. His official statement is, one, he stands by what he said. He effectively said two things. One is that the information in the Quran is accurate, and two, the only way that he could have got this information is from Allah. Yeah? So those are effectively the two statements he made.
Yeah.
When I asked him about it, he was only willing to say that he stands by what he said about the Quran. Yeah? I asked him, does he stand by both statements? He said, I stand by what I said about the Quran. He then, just 1 minute, he then, he told, I asked him, did you become a Muslim? And he said no. Which I think says more than his actual words say. And if you contact his publisher for his official statement on the matter, his publisher will say that his official statement on the matter is that his words were taken out of context. Now, I've heard his words, which were pretty explicit, so I don't exactly see how anyone could take them out of context.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But the fact is that he doesn't stand by what he said about what he thought was the origin of those words.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
And he didn't become a Muslim.
No, I don't really. If he's a Muslim or not, that's fine, yeah. Because Allah is the one that gives the guidance, yeah. But anyway, do you agree that he said that the Quran is completely correct with regards to the embryology, yeah?
Do I think that the Quran is correct, or do I think that Keith Moore says that it's correct?
Did Keith Moore say that the Quran is correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then how would the Prophet Muhammad peace upon him know about these statements? You said that they were mentioned by Galen and Aaron. Who's that, Mike? Oh, that's a book by Keith Moore, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
right. Shall I tell you who funded the book?
Who? The Saudi, yeah, because it was revised, yeah.
In the start of the book, there's a special thanks to a multi-millionaire by the name of Osama bin Laden.
Is it?
Now he wasn't a wanted man at the time. He wasn't into shooting people and stuff.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, you know what? I think, you know, we got to speaking about Osama bin Laden and stuff like that.
Let's see if I can get it on screen. Can you see number 6?
I lift it up a bit more.
You're after number 6.
Yeah, I see,
Special thanks to Osama bin Laden. He funded the book. Now, why?
There are many other people that funded that book as well.
Well,
that doesn't disprove anything.
No, I'm just giving you information that you might not currently be aware of.
Yeah, but you're giving me information saying that Osama bin Laden did bombs and everything. Now that you know that information as well, that's only something that you're hearing on the TV.
No. I didn't say that he did do bombs. I said this was before he did bombs.
Yeah, but how do you know he did that? That's a different.
I don't know that he did, but if he did, this was before he did it, right?
I did not.
See this book and this book, right? Yeah. They're both Keith Moore books, yeah? Both called The Developing Human.
Yeah.
The Developing Human. This one is the book that was released to the entire world, whereas this book is the one that was only released to Muslim countries, yeah? And is the only one in which he goes to length to talk about the Quran. So, if you
goes to Muslim countries,
yeah,
does he deny that the Quran is correct on the embryo stages?
No, he doesn't say they're incorrect. But I tell you what, though, if you read through this book, it's called With Islamic Editions. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
If you read through that book, what you'll find is Keith Moore's pages, and then interspersed there are pages about hadiths saying this happens at 40 days and so on.
Yeah.
Right? And they basically say, therefore, that's correct. However, if you then look at what the book says, you see that they're wrong.
Which book?
The Islamic editions book, right? So, for example, there would be something in there about something happening at 40 days. Yeah.
Pete.
Yeah.
Tadif says, yeah, that he wants to discuss like a topic, yeah? Tell him. Well, what topic do you want to discuss?
There's one miracle I want to ask him about. Yeah.
Let's get someone to repeat the facts.
One second. Pete, brother over here wants to ask you a question, yeah?
Yeah, in the Quran, yeah, it says, we have made the sky a lofty protection for you. This is a sign for you to reflect. Now, what scientists have actually found out, that the atmosphere blocks out 10,000 tons worth of meteorite every year. Now, that's a protection for us, as it states in the Quran.
What verse?
I don't know the exact verse.
Hang on then, I'll look for it.
This is coming out of my head, this is coming out of my mind.
Hang on.
We have made the sky a lofty protection for you. Search that, or we have made the sky a protection for you in the Quran. Search that, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's actually, that's what it says. This is a sign for you to reflect. Now, how would the Prophet Muhammad know that the sky was a protection from all this meteorite? How would he know this?
Right, hang on, I'm just trying to find the verse. Quran miracle sky protection. That should do.
I think it's chapter 2.
2132 it looks like.
Was it 2132?
Yeah, I think it was. There's one in Baqarah as well, isn't it? Yeah, a Western place in the sky with canopy. No, the protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canopy.
No, that's not the sky is a canopy, no?
And plus, you've also got the ozone. The ozone layer protects from UV penetration.
Yeah, of the sun, yeah.
Yeah, and there's many other things as well.
You know Big Bang? Let's put the one here. This is the Big Bang.
No, it should be in here. One second.
What verse have you found, Pete?
2132.
2132. Yeah, that's the right. Yeah. That's the verse, yeah. And we have made the heaven a roof, safe and well guarded.
Which translation is that? Whose translation is it?
Well, that's one translation. But
That's one translation. It's
there's another translation that says we have made the sky a protection. Have you got it? So, what translation have you got? What does it say?
Well, I've got, let's see, Dr. Mosin is one of them. I'm looking on QuranExplorer.com. Right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Quran
Yeah,
Explorer.
that's the one, yeah.
So you got Mosin says, we have made the heavens a roof, safe and well guarded, which implies it's the sky that's guarded and not the people beneath the sky. You've got Pickthall that says, we have made the sky a roof withheld, yet they turn away from its portents. That doesn't actually tell me anything. Yusuf Ali says, we have made the heavens as a canopy well guarded. Yeah? So, what does it mean that the sky is a canopy well guarded? So, in the Quran, right, it talks about when Allah made the world, he did various things, and then he put in the sky stars to act as guards, right, and shooting stars, right, to shoot down jinn, basically. So if somewhere else in the Quran it says that shooting stars are in the sky to shoot down jinn, I would think that that is a pretty good description of he made the sky well guarded.
No, I don't see that.
There's a canopy is like, you know, a roof, like, if you think of, you know, it's something above your head that's like, a canopy would stop rain, if, you know.
Yeah.
If you were in a canopy, it would stop rain.
Yeah, but that's not the only place though that it talks about the sky being a canopy. This is just something that was taken from the creation story, from the Bible, from the Torah. That it was a canopy. No, not this verse. The idea of it being a canopy. Yeah.
It doesn't.
The Bible talks. The Bible talks about the sky being a canopy. The Quran talks. Doesn't it? Okay. Well,
call me the book then, coach.
Well, elsewhere in the Quran it talks about the sky being a canopy raised.
The Bible verse that you're talking about, because I know it doesn't say that.
Well, I'll take your word for it then, because it's not actually important to what
I know that is important, because the Quran, the Bible doesn't say that.
Right. But you know, does it say what? Does the Quran say protection from what? What does the Quran say it's protecting us from?
It doesn't need to tell you what.
So why are you guessing what it's protecting us from?
Well, scientists tell you he's protecting you from everything.
Just outside the ozone layer, it's about 2,000 degrees of heat. So it's protecting us not just from
radiation as well.
Heat,
No. What's happening? What's happening is that you're seeing that it's saying something about heaven, the sky, unprotected, and you're inferring that this means the ozone. Whereas a minute ago you were inferring that it was meteorites, and then what you'll do, a minute ago someone was saying it protects us from meteorites, and now you're saying that it's protecting us from ozone, and the reason that you're coming up with different things is because the Quran says neither.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to say anything. It just talks about protection. It doesn't need to tell you what.
Well, all I can say is if you look at the Yusuf Ali translation and you look at the Mohsin translation, it doesn't say we made the heaven a roof to protect you. It says we made the heaven a roof that is safe and guarded. It's saying that the roof is guarded.
Don't use Yusuf Ali's translation. His translation ranked in the third worst translation of Torah. It was only used for like it's compliant to regards to the Bible as well, yeah. We've got their translations at the moment. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, for example, let's talk about Pharaoh's body, yeah. You know, Ramsey II, yeah. Let's talk about his body, yeah. So basically, Allah says in the Quran that Pharaoh was drowned, yeah.
I know that the Quran says that he was drowned, yeah.
And then his body will be preserved, yeah?
Yeah.
And you know that's like basically archaeologists and basically they found that they found his body, yeah?
Yeah. They found
his body, yeah?
Yeah.
So tell me how the Prophet Muhammad would have known this.
Would know what?
That his body would be preserved and found.
You mean, how did someone know that an Egyptian pharaoh's body would be preserved? Is that what you're asking me?
That one. No, that one. Yeah, that one.
That one.
Yeah.
So, were Egyptian pharaohs' bodies normally preserved?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
So, are you therefore asking me, how did Muhammad know that something that normally happens would happen?
Okay, one second.
Can you see your beach, yeah?
Yeah, you can.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. You know they found the Pharaoh's body in 1898.
Yeah.
And they examined all the bodies, right, yeah? And one Pharaoh, right, yeah, Ramses II, his body wasn't mummified. Because obviously the organs were taken out of the body when you mummify a body, right, yeah? Can you hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they examined his body, Dr. Morris Burkell, he said he had 7 heart attacks from drowning, and his body wasn't basically embalmed or
I think you're getting a bit mixed up here. Maurice Bucaille says it's not Ramesses II. He says it's Merneptah.
He said it's preserved, wasn't it? He said that's the pharaoh you see. Yeah?
So you say it was Merneptah, not Ramesses II. That's who Bucaille says it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay, yeah.
and then Bouquet said what?
Basically, his body is this is the Quran mentioned in the Quran basically because it's a Quran miracle. He checked his body, he examined it as well, right? Yeah, they found his body in 1898.
Okay, so what
Yeah,
are you saying then?
so-
you're saying that that's not Ramsey the second, yeah?
Yeah, it's Merneptah, yeah.
Okay, and where's the evidence for that?
It's in Bouquet's book. I've read his book. And Bouquet says it. Bouquet doesn't say it's Ramses II. He says it's Merneptah.
He doesn't say that because that's the one I mentioned. The Holy Ghost, that's the same Holy Ghost.
Yeah, but
That's after he examined the body. After he examined it, now it's 70s.
yeah, but the thing is, what Tagdeji is saying is, is that the one that's mentioned in the Quran? The name means nothing.
Yeah, okay, but and what's the miracle that he there's a pharaoh's body was preserved?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. So you know when they found his body, right?
Yeah.
Do you know that they found it in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, in a vault with other pharaohs that were all also preserved? So were all of those miracles as well.
So what was that again? So
It was the body was found in the Valley of Kings in a vault, along with multiple other pharaohs' bodies that were all also preserved. Were those all miracles as well?
Were they mummified though?
All of them were mummified.
No, he's on, wasn't
All of them were mummified.
Maurice Bucal says that the one
And does Maurice
was mummified because he had his organs taken out.
and does Maurice Bouquet also say that it showed signs of drowning?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. Have you read the book? Have you read the book he wrote afterwards?
What's that book?
I think it's called the Pharaoh something. I can't remember. It's something about the Pharaoh. Now, in the book you're referring to, he doesn't actually say that he shows signs of drowning. What he says is he's done some tests and the results are not yet back from the lab. Can you hear me all right? Yeah? He says in the book that he's done some tests, the results are not yet back from the lab, but he expects that they will reveal water damage which shows that the pharaoh had drowned. So he wrote his book forming a conclusion before the tests were back from the lab, and then in his next book he wrote, the tests came back from the lab and revealed no water damage and no sign of drowning at all. Right? Which would, that's called, it's called something like the Quran and the Pharaoh or something. Hang on. Maurice Bouquet, Pharaoh. And, but, importantly, the conclusion he reaches, now, in the first book, water damage would prove that this was the right pharaoh because we would expect to see water damage because he drowned. Yet in his next book, when there's no water damage, he says, this corroborates the Quran is true because if the water had hit him and killed him and then his body was taken out of the water quickly before any water damage occurred, then that's what we'd expect to see. So when you're looking at a person that's saying, if there's water damage, the Quran's true, but if there's no water damage, then the Quran's true. I'm a little bit weary about giving him any credibility.
What's the book called that you're referring to when it says no water damage? Where's that?
I think it's the one called Moses and Pharaoh in the Bible and Quran.
I think he's quoting from the Bible, man. You know that verse that he quoted because him being him drowning, yeah. I mean him. Yeah, it's so.
In the Quran also says that he's overtaken by water.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that he's drowned. Yeah.
So Bouquet says before the test results came back, it clearly says in his book The lab results are not yet back, but I expect them to show. So what he's doing is forming a conclusion before the evidence is back. He says, I expect that they will show damage from drowning, which will corroborate the Quran is true. And then you look in his next book, which I think is Moses and Pharaoh in the Bible, Quran and Science. I think it's that one. And in that one, the lab results are back and show no sign of water damage, from which he concludes, therefore, the Quran is true. So, you know, how does that work? If there's water damage, it's true, and if there's no water damage, it's true. That's not someone you really want to appeal to as an authority, is it really?
Well, to be honest, I'm not really going to take your word on it, that he said that.
No, that's fine. You buy the book.
I'm looking at the book.
Yeah.
It says Pharaoh in the Bible, Quran, and history. Is that the one you're talking about?
I think it might be. Hang on, let me see if I can find the. Let me see if I can find the quote. Okay. Pharaoh showed no signs of drowning. No, it's the one that was written afterwards. I tell you, I'll have to email it to Tasneef because I'll have to look it up. But I've read the page myself. Okay. So I'll prove it to you later to save time now.
I was going to say you can email it to me if you don't want email it, just email it to her.
So I'm looking through my emails at the moment, but I'm struggling to find it. Pharaoh bouquet. No, I can't see. I haven't got the reference written down. But I'll get it to you at a later point. But basically, he did a 180-degree U-turn. But ultimately, that was really a digression. Ultimately, you know, the argument that you're presenting to me, what the scenario is, we've got a pharaoh, yeah. The Bible and the Quran claim that he was drowned, and then the Quran claims.
That he was preserved. The Bible doesn't say that.
No. That's not my point. The Bible and the Quran say that he drowned, but the Quran says that his body was then preserved, right?
That's right.
So, what we've got, looking at it from an objective point of view, is you've got the body of a pharaoh that was mummified, yeah, the same as all the other ones were mummified, right?
But Maurice Bucaille doesn't say that his body was mummified.
It doesn't. Yeah, but you're appealing to Maurice Bucaille as an authority that should be trusted. And I just told you why you shouldn't.
But that's the thing. That's the whole point.
I'll tell you who. If you want to look, if you want to find out if he was mummified, phone the Egyptian Museum and ask the archaeological department there. Was the body of ask for both? Was Ramesses II mummified? Was Merneptah mummified? Now,
yeah.
if these people, put it this way, if we had a body over 2,000 years old that was preserved, right, that hadn't been mummified, and we hadn't found it in a peat bog or in an ice cap or something, right, don't you think that there'd be a number of people all around the world that would find that particularly interesting, and it wouldn't just be a small claim in a book by a guy, an anatomist that most people have never heard of? Don't you think that it would? Don't you think that the scientists could like write white papers on this and, you know, possibly get a Nobel Prize for showing how they can preserve flesh without any form of preservatives?
Okay, but the thing is, the scientists never put. Your argument was based upon like that scientists, you know, for some reason they're going to announce it to everybody. Whether they announced it, or they
Well,
didn't announce it.
so they kept it quiet.
No, I mean, you know about it. I know about
I know about it, but I also know there's no evidence to support it. You've got the Egyptian Archaeological Department that have performed multiple autopsies on this guy. If you go to the Egyptian Archaeological Museum on the web, do you find articles about this fascinating mummy? If they had a mummy that had not been preserved, yet is preserved, right, it would be mentioned on the website as an attraction to bring people from all over the world to see this freak of nature, and there's no such thing on their website at all.
Okay.
Phone them up and ask. Phone them up and ask.
Have you phoned them?
I haven't phoned them, no.
What I phoned them for then?
Because, well, you're trying to claim that he wasn't mummified.
Yeah, I am.
So what evidence have you got that he wasn't mummified like every other mummy, except that Bouquet said it, and Bouquet, I've just told you that I don't trust Bouquet because he changes his mind.
Okay, 1 second. I'll give it to you. Yeah? Give me 1
I can't hear anything at the moment, it's cutting out.
No problem. I'm just signing in for you, yeah? Just give me 1 second, yeah?
Okay. Yeah, fine. It's just a really bad connection, it's cutting out and stuff.
One second, I'm still finding it for you, yeah? Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'll send it over to you, yeah? I'll send the stuff over to you, yeah? Okay, so basically you're saying that the denial of the being mummified is because you don't trust Maurice Bucaille, yeah?
Well,
What's he trying to say?
well, let's put it this way. The only person that I've heard this claim from is Maurice Bucaille, yeah? And based on him doing a 180-degree turn where no sign of draining proves the Quran right and sign of draining proves it right, well, I haven't heard it from anywhere else. Even if you look up Merneptah on Wikipedia, it talks about the cache in which he was found in 1898. It talks how many other pharaohs were in there. It doesn't differentiate him by saying, amazingly, he wasn't mummified.
Yeah.
You know, why would it not say that? Why is it that Maurice Bucaille is the only person claiming this?
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, your thing about Maurice Bucaille doing a 180-degree U-turn. I need to find evidence for that first.
Yeah, I'll send you that. So, but effectively, if it was shown to you that the body of Merneptah was mummified, would you therefore accept that this is not a miracle?
No, I'd have to investigate it, obviously.
No, if it was shown to you that the body of Merneptah was mummified, yeah, as were other pharaohs, they were mummified. If it was given preservatives by humans to mummify it and preserve his body, would you therefore conclude it's not a miracle?
Sorry, just say that one more time. I don't even catch what you said. Let's again.
Right. If you were to discover, yeah, that the body of Merneptah, right, and Ramesses II as well, just for the sake of being complete, if you were to discover that both of these bodies were ritually mummified, yeah, by humans, would you then accept that this is not a miracle?
I think we need to discuss that when you show the evidence for it.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is would that evidence be sufficient for you to accept that it's not a miracle?
I couldn't base my answer upon it now. You have to show the evidence first.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is, would there be anything else that if the Egyptian if I went to the Egyptian museum, right, and showed you that they were mummified, yeah, by people ritually mummified, would that be enough? If you were 100% convinced that they were mummified by humans, would that be enough to convince you that this is a false miracle claim?
No, I wouldn't, because as I said, I need to investigate it first. That's what I need to do. I need to investigate it first, yeah. I need to find out exactly. It couldn't just be based upon that. I need to find out exactly who the people that said it. And also, what's the evidence for it? That's what I need to find out. Yeah, I need to get evidence first. Based on conclusion. Yeah.
So what I'm basically trying to get from you is, what would it take for me to convince you that this is not a genuine miracle claim?
I told you to deny it.
Well, I can deny it, but
bring evidence to deny it. Yeah?
I think this is. They're not going to go to. Right? It's not fair, is it? Fair. Hate it.
No, it's happening.
Yeah.
What?
Basically, this is not the actual. Doesn't negate the fact.
your audio's cutting out. Can you hear me okay? Because you guys, your audio's cutting out.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Proving that this Pharaoh is not the Pharaoh that's claimed in the Quran. It's not going to negate your fact in such ours.
Yeah,
Let him say as well. It's not going to negate ours. It's not going to prove your fact. So I think this is a wasted topic, really.
No, I mean, what I'm saying is, for it to be a miracle, right, what we have to do is we have to rule out a less spectacular alternative, and we have to show that whatever it was could only possibly have come about by intervention of a supernatural being.
Exactly, yeah?
So, right, if I said to you, right, that some mummy had its body preserved, yeah, and then next week they found that mummy and its body was preserved, would that be a miracle?
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's a mummy, then and it's had its organs removed, then that's not going to be a miracle in a sense.
So, if therefore, no, that's exactly what I'm asking for. If therefore Merneptah had his organs removed, would that then prove to you that this is not a miracle?
Well, in a sense, yeah. Because I'll say to us that if he's getting drowned at the point, there's no one going to be there to remove his organs, because it would have been.
Well, no, you're assuming he was drowned. You're assuming he was drowned. You haven't proved he was drowned.
Yeah, exactly.
A book. Tell me, what's the difference, right, between a man gets drowned, right, pulled out of the water immediately, supernaturally predetermined that he will be preserved, taken away, is ritualistically preserved, put in a vault, right? Putting aside what the book says, if I were to walk up to this mummy, yeah, I've never heard of the Quran, I walk up to this mummy and I look at the mummy and all I can see is this is a pharaoh that's been ritualistically preserved just like all the others were. How do I look at it and go, but you know, it's obviously a miracle because how did he get out of the water, and he's been in water and dragged out. If there's no evidence that he was in water, right, then how do I know that he ever went in any water and that the story wasn't made up?
the first place had to hit the Prophet.
Yeah, I mean, for the fact is that how would our Prophet ﷺ know that the Valley of the Kings is where these pharaohs will be held?
Why it doesn't? Why are you assuming that he knew where the Valley of Kings is? Where does he say this is where the Valley of Kings is? Where does it? Why do you think that he knew where it was? On what basis are you claiming that Muhammad knew where the Valley of the Kings was?
No, but that's.
I'm not saying he knew where it was. I'm just saying pharaohs were mummified. So what's so great about that? If I said to you the sun's coming up tomorrow and the sun came up, that's not a miracle. That's just what happens all the time. Mummies are mummified. Pharaohs are mummified all the time. If I say, oh, a pharaoh was mummified, and then we discover he was mummified, no one's going to hold me up on the shoulders and say, hark, for it is a messenger of God.
See, because the onus is upon us now. They're going to bring you proof that people. If the body right here is not mummified right here, and there's signs of drowning upon it, yeah? They're going to bring you proof right here.
Yeah, you're going to bring me proof of what?
That the body of the pharaoh right here is not mummified, and there's signs of drowning upon it, yeah? Right,
so what evidence have you got that this body was not mummified?
Well, we're going to research it fully right here.
Okay.
We'll give you more we'll talk about it. We'll give you more.
And when you research it, I don't want references to sites like IslamAwakened.com, where some guy who heard it off his mate at the mosque wrote a story about it. What I want is a credible source, such as like the Archaeological Department of Egypt, where the body was stored, where an anatomist did an autopsy and said, wow, look at that, an unpreserved body that's miraculously not decayed. Okay? I want a credible source. Right? Not someone's mate.
Let me ask you a question here.
Yeah.
What is it in the Quran that would make you concede that this is from God? Yeah?
Should I tell you what would make, if I'd opened the Quran, what I would have seen that would have made me a Muslim before I'd even read the rest of the Quran? Yeah?
Yeah.
If I'd opened it and the first 9 digits I saw were 2997992 I would be a Muslim right now.
How many digits again?
299
299
792
yeah
458.
Okay, why?
That is the speed of light in a vacuum, yeah, measured in kilometres per hour. And the reason that this would make me convinced that a superhuman force was involved is, one, nobody knew the speed of light in a vacuum in the 7th century. Two, it's also measured. The number is also indicated in 2 units of measurement that weren't invented at the time. That's kilometres and seconds. Sorry, I might have said hour, but it's kilometres per second. Sorry, seconds. I don't know if seconds were in use at the time, but kilometres certainly were not used at the time. So not only would it show information that it knew what the cosmological, the constant speed limit of the universe is, it would also show that whoever knew this information would also know that in the future we would measure it in kilometres. So it would know information about the present and at the same time would know information about the future. And if I'd seen that in the Quran, I'd have been a Muslim.
I don't want to put the numerical value.
Okay. So is it something? It's the only thing that would convince you. Anything else?
What? I didn't see what you was holding up then. What did you say?
You know that number that you gave me, the speed of light in a vacuum,
yeah?
It's the only thing that convinces you. Is there anything else?
Well, I mean, I don't see any point in coming up with additional examples. That's just, I think, a very conclusive example that it wouldn't have been done by a human.
What other sort of information that couldn't be known at that time, at the time of the Prophet that you'd want evidence for?
Well, you know, I can't see the point in making up lots of examples. That's just the kind of thing. Something, right, that nobody knew at the time, right? Yeah. Nobody at all, and that nobody had even theorised about, right? Hypothesised that may or may not be true. Something that can't be explained having some mundane alternative. So it would have to only mean one thing. For example, if it just said, this is how fast light travels outside of the Earth atmosphere, then it's 100% unambiguous. Yeah, and at the same time, you know, if there was something in there which couldn't be known until the future, I mean, you know, that'd just be a bit of nice icing on the cake, wasn't it?
Okay. So what about, do you know about Haman? You know who Haman is?
Haman, yeah.
You know who he is, yeah. So
I know Haman in the Quran, yeah.
Okay, who's he in the Quran?
He's the person that the Pharaoh asked him to make bricks.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you know that is the correct Haman? You know that when a hieroglyphics are found, yeah?
Yeah.
And Egyptians to find out what the hieroglyphics is, they found that a person called Haman was the chief builder to Pharaoh.
But did you? No, he wasn't the chief builder to Pharaoh.
He was a builder.
He was a quarry person.
Okay.
And
how did you know this?
And right, you're making a lot of assumptions, and I'll tell you why this is not impressive. Right, when the Egyptians had people building things, they had lots of different places where they were making stones and so on. They had multiple quarries, yeah. And at different quarries, they would have different people in charge, you know, like local managers and that kind of thing. The Haman that you're talking about, the inscription that was discovered, was the Haman at a specific place. He wasn't the chief person that the Pharaoh would have had as his right-hand man turned to and said, go and make me a load of bricks. He was a person in charge of a quarry, just as someone else would have been in charge of a different quarry. And in addition to this, let me finish my point. In addition to this, the Haman in the Quran is HMN, whereas the Haman that was on the hieroglyph that you're talking about was Haman Hetep. There's a Hetep at the end, so it's HMNH. It wasn't Haman, it was Hamanha.
Yeah, but obviously, because the Egyptian writing is different to that,
no,
obviously.
No, that's irrelevant. It's an extra. It's different.
Even now, you know that they know the part that's extra. Doesn't change the name though. The name.
It does change the name.
It does not. I have an Egyptian friend who speaks the language itself, and he said, I've asked him this question himself. That it doesn't change. Okay, is this proof that it changes the name?
This proof that it changes the name.
You said that it changed. You said that to somebody else. Yeah. Well, I have a friend that speaks the language. It doesn't change. But onus is upon you. Even though,
well, if it's no, it's not about meaning. It's about accuracy. You said at the beginning of this discussion, the Quran cannot be improved upon. Is that correct?
Yeah,
you said I could not add a single thing that could improve the Quran. Well, what I'm saying to you is if in Egyptian the guy's name was Haman-Hetep, right? Yeah. If in the Quran this is a miracle showing me that I've got to be a Muslim, I'm telling you that to convince me to be a Muslim, it would at least have to say Haman-Hetep. And if it didn't say, because in Egyptian it's Haman-Hetep.
Yeah, but Egyptian and Arabic are semantic languages though. The name's still exactly the same. The still name is Haman. Also, you said that Haman was a builder, yeah? Mm-hmm. That he was a builder. Mm-hmm. How would possibly surprise you from him? No, Haman was a builder of Pharaoh.
Well, first of all, as I said, there's a difference between Haman and Haman-Hetep, right? Now listen, now what you're arguing effectively is there's no difference between Pete and Peter. Yeah, am I correct? Is that what you're arguing? There's no difference between Pete and Peter. Yeah.
That's English. You're using English.
No, but there's effectively it's the same name, isn't it?
We have names, but it's the name is Shaitan.
That's also, like for example, yeah, I was gonna say this. Also, Jesus, yeah, what's he called in the Arabic? Well, what's he called?
Jesus.
Yeah, what's he called in the Quran?
It's Isa, isn't it?
Yeah, and what do the Jews call him? Well,
I don't know what the Jews called him.
Yeshua, which is a person. So your argument was matching Haman. I said I have an Egyptian friend. I asked the question very quickly. Does the name change? And is Christian the Christian who's a Christian, right? Yeah, I've asked him. Does the name change is the second person because that's how they have it in language.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, right? But
the Quran is correct in saying that Haman is a builder of Pharaoh.
But what you're not addressing though is the fact that in all that this shows is somewhere in Egypt at some quarry some bloke was called Haman. Well, was called Haman Hatep, right? Who was a worker in a quarry. But he wasn't the person that the Pharaoh would have turned to and said, "Make me some bricks." The Pharaoh wouldn't have gone down to the quarry and said, "Make me some bricks."
How do you know he was a quarry builder?
Because that's what the inscription says.
Which is no.
Yeah, it does.
Where did you getting this? That the inscription says that he was a quarry builder.
Have you looked at the inscription?
Now show me where's the inscription.
No, I'm asking, have you looked at the inscription? Or are you just believing what someone else has told you?
Yeah. Okay, go on, yeah. The chief of the quarries, yeah?
No, not the quarries. Of a quarry.
Okay, so you agree that Pharaoh would not have basically his right hand to do it, yeah? So the people that did do it were people that work in quarries, right? So me argue with you and say that he never went to a person called Haman who worked in a quarry. Well, none of us can agree upon that because I never lived in the time of Pharaoh. I know how we can both agree on that statement. Yes. But my argument is based on is that was a man who, for example, worked in a quarry, was building towers for Pharaoh. What I want to know is how would the prophet know that it was a man that did?
Well, no. The point is that you're saying how would Muhammad know that what this guy's name was that the Pharaoh turned to and said do this? Whereas on what I'm saying to you is the Haman that was discovered on hieroglyphs worked in a position where the Pharaoh would not have turned to him and said, "Make this for me." He was just effectively a line manager at a depot. That's effectively what he was. That's effectively what he was.
I need to check his hieroglyphs.
Well, have you looked into any of these miracle claims?
No, I don't know regards to your point that.
Because I'll tell you what. I've looked into them all, and the reason I've looked into them all is because that's what attracted me to Islam. Someone showed me and said, "Did you know there's miracles in the Quran?" And you know what? Up until then, everything in my life with regard to religion had always been, you're supposed to believe without proof because that's what God wants, because that's really lovely. And then all of a sudden it made sense, and I thought, well, without proof I could never know which religion is the right one. So it would make sense to me that if God did have a religion, he'd have a religion with proof in it. So I thought, these miracles are exactly what I would expect. So I looked at every single miracle claim, and every single one of them was false.
Okay.
I've researched them all.
Yeah. You researched them all, yeah?
Well, everyone that I've heard of.
Is that by Zakir Naik? He comes out with it.
Is that Zakir Naik was what? Sorry.
He normally comes out with the miracle claims, yeah.
No. Zakir Naik regurgitates other people's miracle claims.
Okay. People where did this prophet like information?
Where did he what?
Where did he get his information? What was his source of information?
Which information in particular?
What's in the Quran?
Well, I've said it's exactly the same. Where did Mozart get his music from? Where did the author of War and Peace get the words for War and Peace?
Did he make it up?
Well, I don't know. All I know is that there's no reason. It could have come from Muhammad's mind. It could have come from the mind of someone else in collaboration with Muhammad. It could have come from 2 or 3 people, one person. I don't know where it come from. I don't have to prove where it come from because I'm not the one claiming to know where it come from. I'm the one that's saying there's no evidence to say that it's beyond what a man could create.
Okay, so you're saying that a man could create a Quran, yeah? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying that every book that I'm aware of has always been created by humans, and that there is nothing in the Quran that has ever convinced me that it is beyond the ability of a human. I mean, don't you find? Do you not find it a little bit strange that every Quran miracle claim, right? Someone in every single instance can say, but the Greeks believe something very similar to that, or the Indians or the Chinese believe something similar to that. In every case, there is something that someone believed along a similar lines. Now, if you look at it another way, what if, for example, Muhammad had said something like the very heavy planets can make the stars appear to move, right? What he could be talking about there would be gravity lensing, yeah, where it bends space and time and makes the stars appear to move. This was never observed at the time. There was no common belief that gravity made stars appear in different places. Where, you know what? Nobody at the time believed that suns burnt and then exploded and collapsed and became black and sucked in light. Nobody ever said that, but that's not in the Quran. Every miracle in the Quran, every miracle claim in the Quran is always very similar to something that someone already believed.
The problem is here that the media audience is opinion, and for them, if these sort of things are so complex to things at a basic level, so complex, then they would have been even they wouldn't have understood or grasped the smallest knowledge.
Well, not all of the Quran is supposed to have been understood by the people at the time, was it?
Exactly, but this is the thing.
So if
now, you understand that. You understand now. The ambiguity.
My question is, can you think of a book which is comparable to the which they can do as that Christian, like?
Your audio's cutting out. I'm not making it out. Have you done something to your microphone again?
No.
Has anybody's history ever put something on similar to the manner?
Has anyone made something similar to the Quran? Is that what the question is?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a similar kind of manner.
I don't speak Arabic. How would I ever know?
No, but you know, in the Arabic language, right? Yeah, is it the best book of literature ever in history?
Well, I can. Is it valid for me to comment on the English version of the Quran?
No.
No, I have to comment on the Arabic version of the Quran.
You know.
So you're asking a non-Arabic speaker if any Arabic is as good as the Arabic of the Quran? Is that the miracle that God has set out for me?
The Quran was revealed, right? The Quran issued a challenge, right? Yeah, to write a book the Quran, like, yeah? Do you know any other book which is similar to the Quran in the Arabic language? Has anyone ever taken the challenge?
But I've just said to you, I don't speak Arabic. How can I know? How is that a miracle that God would give to me?
The historical Arab who wanted to prove that the Quran was wrong.
Arabs, Jews,
Accomplished.
Right, I'll tell you what. Has anyone ever produced to me a baby that is more beautiful than mine? They haven't, you know. And shall I make a prediction? No one ever will. So a subjective miracle is not a miracle. It's a subjective opinion. There are plenty of people who speak Arabic that say parts of the Quran are really beautiful. However, they also say parts of it are quite rubbish.
Like which part?
I don't know. I don't speak Arabic. But all I know is I know Arabic speakers, right? Who I know a guy that used to be a classical Arabic teacher, right? He used to teach Arabic of the Quran, right? And he was a Muslim for decades, and he eventually apostatized, right? And he obviously speaks good Arabic on account that he was being paid to teach it all his life. Well, for a significant part of his life. And he tells me, now I take his word for it when he says parts of the Quran are really beautiful. You know, I've got no reason to think they're not. But he also says parts of it are pretty bad. But you know, if let's say that you speak perfect Arabic and you tell me the Quran is perfect, and someone else who speaks perfect Arabic tells me it's not perfect, well, I don't speak any Arabic at all, so I've got no reason to believe either of you.
You know that much of historical book.
So, in what way is this God's way of telling me something? If God wants me to have a direct relationship with God, but in order to decide what that direct relationship is, I have to go to a third-party human and ask. How does that make any sense?
You start seeing people 7th century Arab right to become Muslims. Think about this. Well, actually, from a historical point of view, everyone was right. You know, any challenges in the thousand years.
But anyway, it's going to be a question.
Do you know about any challenges that have been challenged with regard to Quran? Like you must have watched the debate between Zaki and William Campbell.
Yeah, I saw it many years ago.
Yeah, well, what did you think of it?
I thought it was really boring.
You found it boring, why?
It was just really boring.
Talk to you about anything. He's proved some of the Bible more accurate than what Zaki
Well, I don't believe in Christianity either, so I'm not really interested in. You see, the biggest weakness of William Campbell's argument is that he went on to try to tell me that the Bible was accurate. And I'm sorry, but no, you know, it isn't.
How would you deny the Bible?
How would I what?
How do you deny the Bible? What's your reason to deny the Bible?
I've read the Old Testament, and I've read one of the Gospels of the New Testament, and that was enough for me, really. I mean, to be honest, I read the Old Testament,
yeah,
and you know, I was looking for God, and what I read was a God that, if this is a God that's real, a God that I didn't want anything to do with.
Well, why is that?
Well, it was an evil God, killed babies.
You mean that he commanded Moses to do it, yeah?
Well, according to the Israelites, God commanded them to kill. Was it the Malak? I can never pronounce the name.
Yeah.
Pronounce it for me.
I think it was the Amalek people, yeah.
Amalekites or something. I can never pronounce the name very well, but you know, it said go and kill them, spare none of them, kill the men, the women, the children, even kill the animals. And I think, well, you know, the children aren't guilty of anything. A child can't be guilty. A newborn baby can't be guilty. So if this is God, then it's not a God I want anything to do with. It didn't make me. It didn't make me not believe in God. It just made me think, well, it's not the God I thought existed. So either it's the wrong God, or when I die and meet this God, I'm going to say to it, you know what? I don't think killing babies is on, mate.
Yeah. Okay. So where do you think that human beings came from? You know, just like So you were saying that you believe in the Big Bang.
I accept that the universe is expanding.
The Quran confirms this, though.
It doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
Go on, present your case.
Yeah, it does say. I'll give you the verse. Yeah, one second.
Do you not see how the heavens and the earth were once one and we clothed them asunder?
That's the Big Bang. I'm on about the earth expanding, yeah?
The heavens expanding.
Yeah.
What was it? 1 second, yeah? I think Surah 6, yeah? Yeah, Surah 6 verse 100.
Surah 6 verse what? Number what?
No, that's not. Sorry, Surah 51 verse 47.
51:47.
Yeah.
We have built the heaven with might, and we it is who make the vast extent thereof. That's Picthor. Mosin says, with power we did construct the heaven. Verily, we are able to extend the vastness of space. And Yusuf Ali says, with the power and skill did we construct the firmament, for it is we who creates the vastness of space.
Okay, here's the translation guy, yeah?
Let me, before you read it to me, is this translation that you're about to read me, was it written before or after the discovery of the expansion of the universe?
It was after, yeah.
Right. So that rules out the predictive element of the verse, then, yeah.
But you can check the word up in Arabic and see. That'll be fair.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look on Ibn Kathir, right, and see what the Tafsir says about 51:47, and what I'm expecting him to say is this means that everything is expanding, okay? Because but do you know that there's no value in a post-diction, only a prediction. Right, shall I tell you what Ibn Kathir says about the verse? Ibn Kathir, well, let's listen. It says, verily we are able to extend the vastness of space thereof. Means we made it vast and brought its roof higher without pillars to support it, and thus it is hanging independently. It just says we made it really big. It doesn't say it is expanding, it just says it was made really big. And I think anyone can stand on the surface of the planet, look at the sky and say, oh, look how big that is.
Okay, 1 second, we're going to give you the Arabic, yeah, so you have a look at that.
Yeah. We can get on there. Have you got Arabic translation?
The word you're looking for is la musiuna.
Yeah, that's the word, yeah.
Right? So, if you look at other variations of use of la musiuna throughout the Quran, right, we've got, let's see,
But if you look on the internet, go to an Arabic dictionary, put this word into the Arabic dictionary and see the variations.
I'll tell you where I am. Have you seen corpus.quran.com?
Nah.
If you go to corpus.quran.com, there's a word-by-word Quran, and it shows you each word. Shows you each word next to the Arabic. But the benefit of it is because I don't trust the translation there, but it's good for cross-referencing different uses of the same word. And if you click on the word, you can look at other verses in which different variations from the same root are used. And what I'm seeing as I look down this list are things like extends, encompasses, all-encompassing, is vast, is spacious, is in abundance, has a capacity. It doesn't say anything about making bigger, growing, expanding. They're all about being amply sized or being very big. Now, if this verse, now earlier if you remember, I said the miracle must be unambiguous. Do you remember I said that? It can't have a more mundane meaning, right? Now, if this verse was unambiguous, if I said to you, space is expanding, it just means it's expanding, doesn't it? It doesn't mean anything else, it just means expanding, right? Where, if this verse was unambiguous, right, what you would have had is all of the translations before the discovery of the expanding universe would have simply translated to the universe is expanding, but they didn't. They showed a different translation, which means that it has a more mundane alternate explanation, and the more mundane alternative explanation is the one that everyone thought it meant. So it's obviously, even if it was an expanding universe, at best is ambiguous, which would mean it could have been made clearer, and you can't go with that. You can't say it can be made clearer, because if you say it can be made clearer, you're saying the Quran can be improved. But if you're saying that it can't be made clearer, then that's obviously very clear, so people wouldn't have got it wrong.
Okay. Now, wait. You know what? It's going to tell us, yeah? Yeah, we need to head out this office at the moment now. I'm going to say to people, do you ever do live debates? Ever do that?
No, well, the thing is with live debates...
This guy here who debates atheists, he Hamza yeah?
No, I don't think I have, no.
Okay. Check it out on YouTube. You debated few questions, a couple from America, a couple from England. Yeah, he took us strong in this sort of field of thought with regards to like atheism and the existence of the creator, etc. Yeah. Maybe you said you want to debate Zach.
Well, no. I think what I said was it would be utterly pointless.
It'd be pointless debating it.
Yeah, of course it is, and not because I think that he's a formidable debater, but simply because what he does is he insists on question-answer type approaches, where you ask a question, he'll say any old shit as a response, end it with the Alhamdulillah, speak loudly, and everyone will clap.
No, that's it.
It's like, I'll give you an example of that. In that William Campbell debate, he asked him where is evaporation described in the Quran. Evaporation in the Quran wouldn't have been a miraculous thing because people knew about evaporation. But rather than saying it's not mentioned, which doesn't prove the Quran wrong, it would just say there's lots of things that aren't mentioned in the Quran, there's no need to mention them. But rather than just saying it's not mentioned, he said, oh, it's mentioned in many places, rattles off about 14 or 15 surahs and verses, and everyone claps because Zakir Naik is brilliant. And then they all think, well, Zakir Naik showed him. But if you actually write down the verses and surahs and look them all up, not one of them mention evaporation.
Okay, I'm going to do that, yeah. I know which one you're on about, yeah. I'm going to go through his ones. 1 second.
Yeah. I was really good speaking to you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice seeing you again.
That's why I've seen you, man.
Definitely, can you give us some challenges to research, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You give us some challenges to research, right?
Do you want me to? Do you want me to ask you something that you could look up?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, like you.
Right. What I want to know, first of all, right, when you think that God created creatures, did He create us all in our current form?
Is that a question? Yeah.
Yeah. I want to. I don't know what your stance is. So, do you believe that God created all animals in their current form?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah. And was that the original life? So, for example, if we just pick an arbitrary point in time for the sake of argument, for example, the Cambrian explosion, would it, because He created life, did He do it all at once, or did He do it in lots of different stages?
And what are you talking about? The general.
For example, did he make all of the creatures that are alive, that are in their current form, that have never changed? When God created life, did He create all life at the same time, or did He start making it many millions or billions of years ago, and keep creating life ever since up until the present day, until let's say a couple of 100 million years ago? Was it a one-off event, or was it an ongoing process where God kept creating new life at later dates?
It was ongoing.
So it's ongoing. So are you saying then that God initially created kind of more simple life, and then later created more complex life, and then later created more complex life?
I'm not too sure. I'm gonna research this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
Well, I'm just trying to work out what your position is before deciding what my question is. Because I don't want to ask you a question about something you don't believe in. I don't want to ask you how big fairies' hats are or something, you know.
Just ask us a question.
I'll tell you. Okay, a good question would be, why would God create animals with eyes that don't work?
Why would God create animals with eyes that don't work?
Yeah. Why would God create animals? I mean, they typically live in dark caves, so they'll be like fish and crabs and things, right? So they don't need eyes. So why would God create them with eyes that don't work, rather than just not create them without eyes?
But that's like me saying, why did God create me with 4 hands? That's like saying, why did God create me with 4 hands?
No, we know the purpose of an eye. Yeah, we know the purpose of an eye. So if there's a creature, if you were creating a creature that didn't need to see, you wouldn't give it eyes, right? Why would you give it? So giving it eyes would be a strange thing itself, but giving it eyes that don't work, it would be like giving it eyes and then poking it in the eyes to make it blind. You know, why would you do that? That's my one question. Another question that I find quite interesting is there's a kind of whale. There's a kind of whale called a baleen whale. If you want to write it down, it's B-A-L.
One second. B-A?
B-A-L-E-E-N. So it's B-A-L-E-E-N.
Yeah.
A baleen whale is a toothless whale. Yeah? So, but
yeah.
During embryonic development, they grow teeth, which then, in a later point, the teeth recede, and they're born without teeth. So why do baleen whales grow teeth and then their teeth go away? During embryonic.
Why on one hand web, and one boom, and then here comes up, I take that way.
Now, why would God create whales, give them teeth before they can actually use teeth? Because you know it's not in the womb having a bit of dinner, is it? It's being fed through a cord, right? Because it's a mammal, so it's being fed through an umbilical cord. So it doesn't need teeth in the womb. but it grows teeth. But then later the teeth rescind, and it's born without teeth.
Does
So
it
why?
need the teeth?
Hmm?
Does it need the teeth?
No, it doesn't need the teeth. It's being fed through an
So
umbilical cord.
that's what.
Yeah, but why does it give? Why does God give the whale the teeth?
Why not?
Why? Why you? So in your eyes, God does pointless things.
That's not pointless though. He does what he can do what he wants.
Well, just because he can do what he wants doesn't mean he has to do stupid stuff, does it?
If the whale needed teeth, sure God would Allah would need teeth.
So you don't find it even slightly strange that God would give fish eyes that just completely don't function? Do you not find that? Do you not find that slightly odd?
No, say that again.
Do you not find it in the slightest bit odd that God would give fish eyes that don't function?
Good question, yeah.
Yeah.
Good question, yeah.
So you look into why God gives fish blind eyes. Yeah. And is there anything that? I mean, I can't think if there's anything that you could give me to look into that I haven't already looked into.
Okay then. Well, you've given us some good points to look at. Yeah. Don't think about Pharaoh. We're going to research obviously.
Yeah.
And
because the thing is, it's like, you know, I mean, I don't think it was really fair for you to, well, I don't know if fair is the right word, but you presenting me with claims for miracles that you've not looked into, so you don't know if they're genuine or not. You know, that's not really your area, is it? I don't know what your area is. At the moment, I don't actually know why you believe that Islam is true. You haven't told me yet.
why do I believe it's true? As I said,
The best I can work out so far is it's because you think it's a good book. But yeah, sorry, Karen.
It's not because of that. It's because
Because
I can prove other books are false.
you can prove what? Sorry.
I can prove other books are false.
Yeah.
But there's no way no one can prove that the Quran is false. So,
But that's not how it works. You don't believe something because you can't prove it's false. You believe something because you can prove that it's true. For example, you see my hand, yeah?
Yeah.
Right? In my hand there is a very small invisible dinosaur that cannot be measured using any technique in physics or known to man, right? You can't disprove that, but we all know that if you believed it, you'd be a bit of an idiot, don't we?
you can't prove it though.
Exactly, and that's my point. You just said to me, you can disprove other books, but you can't disprove the Quran. Yeah?
I'm gonna prove
And
it.
then
I'll
you've
prove
just
it.
said to me that there's no reason to believe in my little invisible palm dinosaur because I can't prove it. And
Well, the thing
I
is
think
that
you've just made my point. You don't believe something because you can't disprove it. You believe something because you can prove it.
Yeah. But you know the question that you asked us, yeah?
Yeah?
They're the things that we're going to prove to you, yeah?
Peter said we have to go now, right?
Yeah, okay.
Is that fine? It's very nice talking to you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Definitely
nice.
do this sometime, right?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
But-
So, guys, I've recorded this, so I'm going to upload it. So, if you want me to send you a link, I'll send it to you, and then, you know, you can have a look through, and then you can look back and see what was said and what needs to be looked up and stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely do this again sometime.
Yeah,
Inshallah.
yeah, it's good fun.
Where do you upload it from?
I'll stick it on YouTube. I'll send you a link when it's up.
Alright, brilliant. Yeah, do you normally do it on YouTube or what? You know,
Yeah, I've got stuff on YouTube already.
Yeah, what do we have to type in?
It's YouTube / TheRationalizer. YouTube / TheRationalizer with a Z.
Okay. Well, one person I definitely want you to speak to, yeah? On Skype. It's going to be a guy that I'm going to... I'll break down, yeah, as a good friend. I know him quite well, yeah? And you can discuss these issues with him, well, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, bring along who you like. I don't mind. I'll talk to anyone. Jehovah's, Muslims, Jews, you know, whatever.
Let me ask you just one more question, yeah, before we have to, yeah? You know You know there's many religions.
Do I know there's what? Sorry.
You know there's many religions. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were to pick one,
Yeah.
which one would it be?
It would be the one that I made up because then I know it'd be really good.
The one that you made up.
Yeah, because you know they're all man-made, so I may as well go for a religion that was invented by a man that thinks along the same lines as me. So you know.
Why don't you make one up?
Because I'm too honest.
Well, that doesn't stop you from making a religion, though.
Of course it does, because for me to make up a religion, I'd have to make claims for things that I can't prove, and I can't tell other people to believe them if I don't believe them. I'm not going to expect people to believe stuff I don't believe.
Yeah, but why don't you make a religion with things that you believe and make people they believe as well?
But you see, that's the thing though, you see, is I only believe things that can be proven. And if you only believe in things that can be proven, it's not called a religion, it's called fact. And I do already believe in fact. It just happens to not be a religion.
Okay then. So everything you believe has to be proven, yeah?
Of course, yeah. And you know what? I always say to people, you know me, I'll believe absolutely anything I will, but on the condition that you can prove it first.
Okay. No, that's okay. Yeah. All right, MP.
Okay.
All right.
Will we believe it? And then get in contact with us, Steve, and then I must this thing up with a friend, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. And next time, make sure you take the fuse out of that bloke's plug.
See you soon, yeah?
Yeah. See you later.
I've got your number for you.
Yeah. It's rarely on, so Tasneef, that my mobile phone is rarely turned on, so it's better to email me if you want me.
That's fine, definitely.
All right, Pete. Take care.
See you
Nice
later.
to meet you, mate.
Ta-ra.
Bye.